I talked to a student recently at one of our woke college campuses who said she's required in every class to introduce herself and to give her pronouns. Well, I'm Ted Cruz, and my pronoun is kiss my ass.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, here's Johnny.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Prepared Mind channel. It is the Free for All Friday. Folks, freedom isn't free. It never has been. It never will be. I want to remind everyone, vote, vote, vote. We've got a big election coming up. And I tell you what, it has been a long, very long week for me. But you're... No need to complain. No need to brag. I'm going to turn it back on for this show. The reserve batteries are kicking in. Woo! Folks, we're going to do Free for All Friday, which means I'm going to talk about some stuff, and you guys get to put your questions down below. Get them into Uman. He is behind the scenes. He is getting the questions. He's working the blue wrench. He's talking with all you guys, and it has just been what I would like to describe as an unfucking believable day, week, year, and just everything in general. And I'm glad you're here with me to share it, to talk about it, so that we can be prepared, right? We say it, chance favors the prepared mind, and I have zero doubts that that is a fact. It truly is. If I was not prepared for this, it would kick my ass up one side and down the other. And I'm glad that you, along with me, are aware of what's going on, folks. I mean, we're being run. The country, the world, our economy, our governments are being run by absolute imbeciles. Now, I'm going to read you a headline. Joe Biden, you know that guy that's the president up in D.C., Joe Biden loses. Right, he loses his sense of self, calls himself senator. He is regressing mentally, folks. I don't know if it's some sort of ego dysphoria. He doesn't know who he is. He's been president for 2 years. He was vice president for 8, but he's calling himself senator. Unfucking believable. Look, okay, I get up 0 dark 30 every day. I get somewhere between 4 and 6 hours of sleep if I'm lucky. And I am more coherent than this clown who probably sleeps 12 hours a day and is on every major drug known to pharmaceutical medicine trying to keep him alive. Can you believe that's the president? He doesn't even know who he is. That should be an indicator for all of us to understand exactly where we're at in this mess called, well, it's SHTF, but it's also the reality that we have to deal with. I mean, Free for All Friday, everything that's gone on all week, anything that's happened today, and anything that you predict is coming next week, go ahead and talk about it. Get your questions in because we need to go over it all. So we all are aware. See, I talk about stuff that comes to my attention and I think is important. And what's great about you guys on the preparedmind.club and subscribestar.com, you can be a premium member on either site and be here Monday through Friday for the afternoon show where I do a monologue and take your questions, is you can bring up topics, subjects that are not only important to you, but perhaps I missed them. And others out there benefit from your thoughts as well. This is where you help keep the show on the air and you keep the content fresh and working hard. Unbelievable. Oh, my God. Let's go into this story. And then as soon as I'm done with this, I'll ask Uman to put one of your questions up and we'll have a back and forth. And this is powerful stuff, folks. MSNBC fired one of their hosts, Tiffany Cross. Why was she fired? She was promoting genocide against white people. Is this South Africa? Is this any other third world nation? How the fuck did it get this far anyways? That's what I want to know. How did it get so far that on mainstream media they actually have a host broadcasting that genocide against white people is fine? Genocide against any people is not fine. Even the genocide of all those bad Russians is not acceptable to call for. But that is the toxic nature of these socialist, leftist Democrats, folks. Anyone that opposes them, they want to see hurt, injured, canceled, crushed, defeated, broke, fired, and even killed. Can you believe that in America today? It's not, folks, 1922. It's not 1822. It is 2022. Was there ever a call in broadcast media, either television or radio, was there ever a call anywhere for the complete destruction and death of any people? Did anyone ever stop and jump up and say, we need to kill all Native Americans? Did anyone ever say, we need to kill all Black Americans? Did anyone ever say, we need to kill all Italian or Irish or German Americans? Nobody. Yet this is where we're at today. This is how evolved and tolerant the political left is. Yeah, she deserves to be fired, folks. But let this be a lesson. Let this sink in. Think about the partisan conflict that's coming, being fueled by the divisiveness of every radical left-wing violent group out there. And we're going to get into that more as the show progresses. The intolerance, the sheer hatred to call for the genocide of any group of people, any ethnicity, any race. Unbelievable. It truly is unbelievable, right? The idea that because of the way I look or the things I believe that I deserve to be killed, you deserve to be killed. Unbelievable, and it's unconscionable. I mean, we all condemn Adolf Hitler, right? The Führer of the Nazi war and killing machine. He started his brilliant career, folks. Guess what? About 100 years ago. He was arrested. There was this big beer hall riot / whatever. And then he started his work with the Nazi Party, folks. Wrote Mein Kampf, meaning my struggle. He got into politics. He was pushed to the top. He became chancellor. And then he became the Führer, the boss, the dictator of Germany, 10 years in, right? That's how long it took for Hitler to get to ultimate power. And then to start his incredible genocidal, maniacal killing. And here we have people in the media calling for that 100 years later. Where do you think this ends, folks, if they're not checked, if they're not stopped? If this doesn't come to an end, right, it's going to be brutal, is my cautionary warning for all of us. To understand, there are people that you pass every day on the road. There are neighbors up and down your street. There are co-workers in your work that think just like this person, Tiffany Cross, and you don't know it. But they harbor deep, deep hatred and destruction or destructive feelings and thoughts for you. Unbelievable, is it not? I've never had these sorts of thoughts towards any other group. I mean, I know that communism, when they are on the other side of the war front, they would kill you in a second and they would be the enemy to be fought. Now they're in America and amongst us. They're very dangerous. And look at what we're getting from them. I'm pointing right at my I have it's not a teleprompter, but it's notes. I'm looking at this going, I can't believe this was done. I can't believe this was said. Killing all white people. It's just unbelievable. Do you feel safe? Folks, it's 11:58 on the SHTF clock. Do you know where your kids are? Do you know what's going on? I sure hope you have food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, means of self-defense, and a plan, because they're out there and they're calling for this. Yeah, she got fired for it, but guess what? She's not the only one. She is so brazen that she was willing to risk her job and her career to get their just scary message out. And these people on the left, trust me, they're willing to die, to go down, to sacrifice who they are in order to make their sick, twisted plans happen. The same as the incredibly murderous communists in China and Russia in the 1930s, 40s, and 50s, as well as the 1930s Germans, folks. People, when they become extremists to this degree, the extreme of extremes, they will go to any length to satisfy their mental delusions. All you need to do, folks, is be prepared. Understand what they're thinking and realize you need to have a plan to protect yourselves and your family and your country. I sure hope it doesn't get much worse than that. All right, Mr. Uman, who do we want to put up next? Uman, like me, puts in days, folks, that start before the sun comes up and typically end well after the sun goes down. All right, we got Uman. He said, this morning, Elon locked out all but the select key employees from Twitter buildings and from internet access to computers, pending layoff notices that were supposed to come out tomorrow. Now it looks like he dropped the hammer earlier than expected, and he nuked 4,000 worthless woketards. Remember essential and non-essential folks during the Cerveza bug lockdowns? Sounds like Elon has some non-essentials that he's cutting loose. Anyways, continuing with Uman's discussion topic, he says, content and policy moderators gone. I still don't trust him, but that was a smart and savage move. I agree with Uman. I believe it was savage. Cut off a lot of fat. It was shrewd, right? By taking away from them, folks, this is important to note for me and for you and for everyone. He took away from them their power, their control over Twitter and free speech. And he did it before they were prepared or ready. And he hasn't given them the opportunity to change their evil ways. Much the same as you and I. Now get this. You and I, we're just tootling along, having a discussion about Cerveza bug or Nintendo games. And we get a strike. We get banned. We get censored, and we don't have an we didn't know this was coming. You get a strike. You are now silenced for a week, 2 weeks. You are forever silenced on social media, on any platform, because they just thought it'd be a good idea to do so. No warning, no notice, no notification, no chance to fix your evil ways. Just bam, you're punished. Now these leftards understand what that's like. They got the Chuck Norris karate chop, and they're done, locked out. Pow. Apparently, internationally, they've taken just a huge hit. And I love the fact that they've been cut off from their computers as well. Computer access denied. All but the most critical components. Now, like Uman, folks, I do not trust Elon Musk. I don't trust anyone that is as powerful and rich as him, because typically they disappoint us greatly, right? typically they aren't 100% pro-American, right? Sadly, I appreciate, though, 100% what he's doing. I like the fact that it's going to have an impact on the way America and the world thinks. They're going to examine the concept of free speech. They're going to pay closer attention to it. They're going to talk about the value of it. It should be part of our everyday conversations, the ability to say what you want and have people either listen, ignore, debate, argue, walk away, but at least they will think instead of going, doesn't anybody else have an opinion? The only thing I'm hearing is what Twitter allows or what Facebook allows. The only thing I'm hearing is what the mainstream media talks about. Why can't we talk about any other subjects? Well, because we can't. Well, let's see if Elon continues to make the right moves or if he does kind of a salt and pepper, yes and no type move, right? Maybe it should be salt and sugar, right? A little bitter. Ugh, why'd you do that? And then a little sweet, like, hey, that was nice. Anyways, man, I appreciate and value your opinion always. I love debating with you, man, and talking about stuff the way it used to be in America when you could talk with those that you disagreed with. When you were allowed to have an opinion and you wouldn't be canceled for it. Well, the cancelers are now the cancelees. These Twitter people are locked out. They know what it's like to be fired, silenced, and cut out of the conversation. Hasta la vista, Plaza del Domingo. Hey, I tell you what. Oh, yeah, by the way, cracks me up. They're filing a lawsuit. Yeah. They're filing a lawsuit. Let me see if I've got it here. Let's see, where did I put it? Folks, my ass is kicked. I have had one hell of a week and day. Anyways, they're filing a lawsuit because they were fired without notice. Really? This cracks me up. They think that they're supposed to get a warning, that they're supposed to get notice. Hey, by the way, we're going to fire you in 2 weeks. So you need to start looking for a job now because we're going to fire you in 2 weeks, right? When you get fired, you show up at your desk and there's no computer login and your boss walks over and says, pink slip, you're terminated. We would like you to clean out your personal belongings and vacate the building, turn in your keys where your passwords are done. You're just done. You're fucking done, right? When I resigned from corporate America, right, I had the head of IT come to my desk, transfer any personal files over to personal cloud accounts that were mine, erase everything, clean it out, lock me out 100%, and he did it all with me, right? Make sure any private data or passwords were removed. It was all very cordial. When you're fired, you're fucking fired. Unbelievable. I tell you, folks. I tell you. Thank you, man, for bringing that topic up. It's one I've been wanting to discuss all day since I heard, and I've been watching and trying to follow what's going on with this Twitter thing. It is, folks, a serious battle. The battle of communication. Now, this morning's video at 0dark30 was about just that, free speech, and how the real threat to free speech has always been the powerful control sector, whether it's government or religion. And that freedom of speech, expression, the ability to read, write, and share that information through the printing press, and then telegraph, telephone, and then, well, radio, and then television broadcast, and then satellite cable, and now internet. And our voice, my voice, your voice is so powerful that they don't like it. It scares them. It bothers them. And at every step along the way, the powers that be have struggled to shut us up and make us listen to their will. Now, of course, television and radio has always been controlled by the FCC, Federal Communications Commission. They claim stewardship and ownership of the airwaves, right? And so you and I couldn't go on TV. We had no ability to, shall we say, communicate on a mass scale. Right? I mean, we did have ham radio, yes. We did have CB, Citizens Band, but it wasn't popularized. Not the way the internet has become popularized, not the way social media has created platforms, if you will. A very popular term, platforms, where we can talk to one another across great distances, across cultures, across national boundaries, to anyone who's willing to listen in. And the government can't have that because you and I are having conversations so powerful, so important, that the government can't have an opposing view expressed, because you and I can articulate our acceptance of or rejection of other people's ideas. And we can do so in a compelling and evidence-based way that satisfies our needs. And the government doesn't like that. They don't want us to be satisfied. They don't want us to be informed. And they certainly don't want us arguing with them. Enough on that for the time being. If you've got more questions, comments, thoughts on Elon Musk, go ahead and hammer it down. Okay. Thank you, Uman, for that quick message. I want to get to a topic that I thought was pretty interesting. It is a wacky fucking SHTF week, and freedom isn't free. I'll remind you that as much as I can. It is a free-for-all Friday, but freedom isn't free, folks. One of the ways that we participate, the single democratic institution that we work through is called voting. The rest of the country is governed by our constitutional rules, known as our constitutional republic. There are rules that we can't just vote away because we feel like it. Right? The respect for others' rights, liberties, freedoms, property, and their lives. Right? The government can't take that away, no matter whether or not people vote. Our rights are our rights, and they are inalienable. So where we can speak up and use the democratic processes, not Democrat Party, folks, democratic processes, that is the voting part. The rest of it are ironclad rights and rules, and that is what a republic is based on, a very strong and firm foundation. Don't let them erode the foundation. Don't let them convince us to leave our foundation and set sail in the rocky boat of democracy, which constantly crashes upon rocks. Yeah. Let's do this. Now let's switch subjects, right? Now, I am not a celebrity sycophant, but I wanted to bring this story to your attention just because of who is involved in this. None other than Chuck Norris. Folks, Chuck Norris, the subject of memes for years and maybe even decades, right? The consummate tough guy ass kicker, whose career in the hearts and minds of America started with his roles in movies with Bruce Lee, but became huge because of the movie Lone Wolf McQuade, where he was Texas Ranger, which turned into Walker Texas Ranger, as close as he could get. But here's the deal, folks. Chuck Norris, Lone Wolf McQuade, is backing Blake Masters in Arizona. He endorses him. Huge endorsement, right? Gotta love it, folks. Legendary martial arts American ass kicker Chuck Norris stepping up. I just find it fascinating and immensely entertaining and heartening to have someone like Chuck Norris step up. You just want to see him. Just imagine Chuck Norris, folks, in his prime, just walking into Congress and just waylaying communists. To me, that makes me laugh. I'm not glamorizing violence. No, I would never do that. In fact, I don't get to talk about violence in a fun way. I don't get to talk about dangerous, scary, news. Right? I would be silenced and censored by YouTube, by Google, by everybody. but the mainstream media can show violence all day long and get the best advertisement revenue money can buy. Anyways, I just wanted to inform you guys. Yeah, Chuck Norris has stepped up. Lone Wolf McQuaid, folks. Don't fuck with that guy. All right, enough of me and that. What do you guys want to discuss next? We got Uman behind the scenes working things. Jolene is on a pleasure cruise down in Tahiti for the next couple of days. I'm joking. She's really not in Tahiti, folks. Jolene works very, very hard, and she's got the evening off dealing with some issues. But Uman has stepped up as usual. And folks, without Uman, without the R Syndicate team, without Jolene, the show wouldn't be as fun. It wouldn't be as smooth. It wouldn't be as professional. Without Mr. T behind the scenes producing great content like this. I had nothing to do with school closures. Lying rat, Dr. Doom himself. Right? Without Mr. T, we wouldn't have that kind of stuff bolstering our claim that this channel is about satire. And of course, all of those who are supporting us behind the scenes with information, just thank you all. All right, Oliver, sorry about that, buddy. I just had to go back over there and show Dr. Fauci that fucking rat. We got Eli in the Wolverine state. And he says this: convicted murderers and drug dealers who have recently left prison in Russia face being conscripted to fight in Ukraine under a change to the law. Interesting, huh? Interesting indeed. Now, this is not new in world history. In fact, go ahead and leave that up if you would, Oliver, so people can refer to it as I discuss the topic. If you can flip it back on there. Throughout history, nations have looked at their convicts and said, look, you've committed great crimes. You're in jail. You have a chance to prove your worth to society, to the government, to pay your debt. And we're going to allow you to pay that debt by serving in the military, serving in time of war to protect your nation. Now, there was a great movie starring Lee Marvin about the American government doing that. The movie was called The Dirty Dozen. The Dirty Dozen, a bunch of convicted, criminals who were trained for some special missions based on a true story. Anyways, yeah, Russia's doing that. But guess what? They're not the first to do that today. Thank you again there, Uman. Convicted murderers, drug dealers, right? Ukraine, if I remember correctly, was arming their gangs and criminals and sending them to the front lines to be the first to face the Russian onslaught as Russia rolled into eastern Ukraine, what was then eastern Ukraine, the territories of Donbass, Luhansk, Zaporizhia, Kherson. Anyways, yeah, they went right into the jaws, folks. Now, are any of them alive? Still, I don't know. But what we've discovered, you and I, is that, well, weapons that were given to the Ukraine military ended up in the backs of people's Volkswagens, right? Their cars, and are being sold on the black market. In fact, I saw a news story this morning about the criminals on the NATO, EU, US side. Up in Finland, they had weapons going into civilian criminal hands. Folks, there's a heavy price to pay. A heavy, heavy price to pay when you carelessly do things like this. Now, on the Russian side, will Russia do anything more than give AK-47s to their once imprisoned convicts? Or will they give them, RPGs and ancient Russian battle tanks, right? T-72s. I don't think they'll give them battle tanks, folks. I don't think they'll give them much more than rifles, make them riflemen. It's probably about as far as they can be trusted. Maybe with a couple of satchel bombs, but, look out. still, that's, and I've thought about this a lot in the past. What better way to deal with the prison population than to put them into this kind of service? But how will they serve? Will they do a good job, right? Are they cannon fodder? What a world. Folks, this practice has existed for time immemorial. It truly has. It's been around forever. But it shows a level of desperation and possibly political exasperation with what's going on. Now, I spent some time today talking to a die-hard, super-duper political conservative person. And we discussed Russia, and he really, right, I just let him talk. But he explained to me how he thinks Vladimir Putin's the bad guy, and that, Vladimir Putin is looking to invade Poland and the rest of Europe, and that he has designs very similar to Hitler, and that he's carrying out a similar attack strategy. And he came to the conclusion after discussing with me that that nuclear weapons is what is stopping him. Likewise, I said, nuclear weapons is what is stopping the U.S. from invading and engaging in war with Russia. The upshot or downshot, if you will, to all of those discussions was we all have a difference in political opinions. I don't think that Putin is any worse than Zelensky. I don't, I think there's a lot of trouble with all of these world leaders. Now, my opinion about their intelligence level is something completely different. I do not believe that Zelensky is a refined political strategist or military strategist or strategist in any fashion, form, etc. I think that Zelensky is nothing more than a puppet who is told what to do and what to ask for and what to demand and what to push. So, thank you, Uman. A wise ass comment is coming. Great. We've got trouble in Europe, folks. The American military has troops in Ukraine, and I think Ramstein Air Base there in Germany probably has quite a few, shall we say, military units on standby. The potential for conflict is growing, and we'll discuss that a little more. It's not just in Europe. Now it's over in Asia. It is coming. We need to be prepared. We could have EMP attack here. We could end up with some rogue, shall we say, element. I'm going to use the word element. Rogue element that could use a nuclear weapon anywhere on the planet. And this rogue pseudo quasi government element would engage in administering or commencing that operation with the sole purpose of causing more conflict for the benefit of those who benefit from war. Now, who is violent? Am I violent? No, I'm not. Am I trained? Yes, I am. We have a lot of, conservative, shall we say, pro-American, America First type veterans in this country. As trained as we all may be, we're not violent. But I want to read to you this. This leftist lunatic has been leaving voicemails for Republican candidates or a Republican candidate. And fortunately, he has been arrested. Here's a quote. I am going to kill him. Here is another quote. Skin him alive. Those are excerpts from what this clown was saying. We're told that, the right wing is violent. We're told that we are a threat and that our free speech alone is a threat, much less our physical violence. Folks, it is the leftists, the socialists, the communists, the left-wing fascists. They are supposed to be cool and tolerant and nonviolent. But once again, folks, These are the people who are doing this. You know, in my case, I'm like, what me worry, right? I'm ready. I'm prepared. I see this coming. We know who's lying and who the true violent people are. But this is what is happening. Their political violence is going to lead to partisan conflict, right? The leftists are the ones violently, physically threatening and taking action. Now, Paul Pelosi was attacked by his friend in the middle of the night at 2 a.m., and we're supposed to believe the mainstream media and people like Hillary Clinton, who said that was a Republican right-wing extremist who in his underwear broke into the Pelosi house by breaking in from the inside. Yeah, folks, it's all a big scam. They'll turn any incident, if they can, into you are evil and bad. In fact, what are we seeing? In Russia, Eli points out that prisoners are being used by the government to conscript them into the military to fight Ukraine. In America, the Democrats in left-wing cities are letting prisoners out, not choosing to convict and incarcerate murderers, rapists, thieves, and thugs. And they're on the streets, and they are going after us, the people. Meanwhile, we face partisan conflict on the streets because of people like this clown saying, I'm going to kill him and skin him alive. Wow. And then you have extreme left-wing racists on National Broadcasting Corporation, NBC, their network, calling for the genocide of white people. Really? Thank you very much, Mr. Uman. All right, buddy. Well, we left Eli up as I covered my discussion about the left-wing lunatic. So let's do this. Let's move on let's do the wise ass comment. Let's get that one out there, man. I got to see this. I got to hear this. From Yankee Watchdog. He says, John, Nikki just told us that Uman has an OnlyFans page. Who knew? That was brilliant. Thanks, man. Who knew? Yeah. Uman and his OnlyFans. Hey, look, who am I to judge? Right? Who am I to judge? If the ladies want more Uman and they want Uman, they can get the Uman at OnlyFans. You know, I don't care. I mean, ask yourself this: holy bananas, we're already 40 freaking minutes in? Okay. Or am I so blind I can't read the numbers on the screen right? And that was good. And then I just kind of teared up a little over the thought of Uman dancing on a pole. Anyways, I love you, buddy. But how can Uman dancing on a pole or anything Uman would do on an OnlyFans page? Let me ask you this. How could that be any worse than what these fruitcake left-wing yahoos do on the street in their pride parades? The way they dress, the way they act. Folks, the filthy, disgusting sexual behavior they do in public, no less. I'm not talking about on a private beach or a private resort, the things they do in public. And these sick bastards who want to involve children in their perverted ways, right? Yeah. So Uman having some fun with the ladies, I'm all for it. Go ahead there, Mr. Uman. Anyways, I don't really believe that he does. And this is a big joke and it's silly. And Nikki is just out there causing trouble because that's what Nikki does. She likes to have a good time. We all do, folks. You got to have a little bit of fun. We all got to have a little bit of fun, folks. But the shit has hit the fan, right? So have fun on your own time. But on this channel, well, we're going to have fun. In fact, Sunday Night Live, unless, well, I've got some training to do this weekend. I'm going to be out in the bayous, out in the water, unless an alligator or something bites me or a cottonmouth or something like that. I'll be here for Sunday Night Live, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 3 p.m. Pacific Time. Woo! Good stuff. All right, I'm going to jump on this one, folks. Now, Dr. Phil. Everyone knows Dr. Phil, the great television psychologist, Dr. Phil. He says, if an airline pilot had, I'm gonna paraphrase him. If an airline pilot had cognitive impairment, would you get on the plane? Now, I omitted some of what he was conveying, right? If you knew your airline pilot wasn't able to read, write, talk, think properly, would you want to get on the plane with an airline pilot like that? So now let me add a little more to the rich story here that Dr. Phil alluded to, right? He's speaking of not an airline pilot, but John Fetterman, Uncle Fester. You know, this guy here on the right, Mr. He can't put a sentence together. He can't answer. He can't even read his own teleprompter right. Well, I wouldn't get on a plane that he was flying, but should we ask ourselves, why would you vote for a senator who is going to vote on rules and regulations if he can't properly think? Now, I know that lawyers work for all of the congressmen, all of the senators, and that they write all of the legislation trying to erode our Constitution at every turn. But, right, so if you saw any legislation coming from brilliant brain surgeon John Fetterman, right, you would know he didn't write it. But still, he's going to vote. Now, taking into account the decision-making that's been happening in Washington, D.C. the last 2 years under the Biden administration, it's hard to imagine John Fetterman as a senator making a decision that could be any worse, because everything that Biden has done absolutely nothing for you and I or America except to destroy, degrade, degenerate, and ruin this country, from our energy policy to our border security, to our international policy and our international reputation. Thank you, Mr. Biden, and no thank you to John Uncle Fester Fetterman, and no thank you to Dr. Fauci Stein. This guy right here, right? Is he a madman or is he a monster? Hey, you decide for yourself. Right? After all, we can trust every word that comes out of his mouth because he's Mr. Science. He's Dr. Science. Everything he says, he is the science, is he not? Yeah, this little guy who says, I had nothing to do with school closures. Well, I think we covered that, didn't we? And don't worry, we'll continue to cover all of these topics, including the Nintendo games that are coming next week. And I want to cover that really quick, and then we'll get to some more of your questions. Folks, it was announced today that Trump is going to announce his 2024 campaign. Trump is going to make a run for the White House again, folks, in 2 years. But apparently he's not going to announce that plan until November 14th. And that is 6 days after next week's election. So I have to ask myself, folks, I don't sit here and just read the news headlines and say, see how brilliant I am, I can read the news headline. I say, no, let's examine the news headlines as to what they have to do with us, America, shit hitting the fan, and our prepping interests. Well, I think Trump plans to announce his 2024 run after the Republicans win the House and quite possibly the Senate. I think the reason he's waiting 6 days is because we're going to have a whole lot of bullshit and shenanigans for the first week after the election. But I think what Trump is trying to do, and we can all keep a very close eye on this, is I think that he knows the Republicans will take control. And it is my opinion that McCarthy and McConnell, Turtles McConnell and Turdball McCarthy, Republican leaders in the House and the Senate, they're going to set up the country to be run by, shall we say, rhino behavior. that is Republicans in name only who love to lose and give in to the left, because truly they're just leftists. They are wolves in sheep's clothing. But I think Trump will come up and will want to excite the base and push for more change in leadership. I think that's the plan. The America First, Make America Great Again plan is, well, get Republican control and get all the America First, all of the Make America Great Again candidates they can into Washington, and then push for an overthrow of the rhino leadership. Right? Trump, and again, folks, take what you want, what you will, your own opinion. Some people love Trump. Some people are not so in love with Trump. But he is the leader of the Republican Party. Right? He's the top candidate. So there are people trying to undermine him and there are people trying to support him. Any way you look at it, if he runs, if he announces his candidacy, right, he's going to swing a very powerful political opinion with a lot of American support behind it. And the rhinos, who are essentially lapdog stooges of the Democrats and the World Economic Forum, the Illuminati, they're going to oppose him. So we're going to have an internal Republican battle for the next 2 years. Get ready for it. While we have an internal United States of America battle between freedom and the forces of freedom and despotism and the forces of despotism in Washington, D.C., including bureaucracy, law enforcement, and the political class, right, known as the president and the remaining Democrats. Okay, that's about all I wanted to cover on that for the time being. Let's keep our eyes peeled. Now, man, who do we have up next? We got the Charlanator with a question statement. People in the outskirts of my town have reported seeing a couple of men with ski masks on walking around neighborhoods, checking them out. People are armed and ready to defend. Need to make sure your firearms are clean and ready. Good communication with neighbors. What else should we be prepared for to handle this kind of situation? This is where knowing your neighbors really pays off. This is where having a tight-knit community pays off. Now, knowing your neighbors and being really good chummy friends are two entirely different things, right? Familiar faces in familiar places. People running around with cerveza bug masks is one thing. People running around with black ski masks or white ski masks or brown ski masks, I don't care, ski masks. We're just used to seeing burglars and cat burglars and super thieves in the movies. They wear all black clothes so they can sneak along a wall in the dark of night, right? So I'm used to saying black ski mask. Forgive me, right? It could be any color. People that are doing that are behaving suspiciously, right? They're looking for weakness, the same way thieves go through neighborhoods and scout them out, right? They case every house and figure out who are the easy targets. We have examples from 2020 about BLM, Antifa, and other left-wing lunatic groups who went out and did similar things to this. They went out into quiet rural communities. They went out into the suburbs and they scouted them out. Thank you, man. And so we need to be prepared and ready and understand that they could do the same thing again. And they went to small towns, the town I was in being one of them, and discovered the people there were very familiar with one another and who did and did not belong. And these left-wing lunatics who imported themselves into our towns were easy to spot because they didn't fit in. And they were easy to single out and keep a very close eye on. And if they became, shall we say, criminal, actions would have been taken. I am absolutely certain. But in my town, they did not take illegal actions. Now, in the media, stories covered people back in 2020 who were bussed out into suburbs and small towns to cause trouble. And they were once again greeted by people in the community who did not recognize them, know who they were, and their suspicions were confirmed when attempts at violence were made, and the people handled themselves, I would say very legally, very lawfully, and very forcefully, not allowing violence to escalate. It was stopped. It was shut down. Yes, we need to be well prepared. Yes, we need to have the self-defense items. Folks, in this country, towns, small cities, counties, suburbs, small police departments, they don't have the money in their budgets to have, it's been announced. Law enforcement across the nation in certain areas is understaffed. If things go wonky, you're on your own. I got that message back from a sheriff's deputy I know back in 2020. John, essentially, you're on your own. There are not enough law enforcement officers to handle all the issues that can come up. And we were treated to that all the summer of 2020. Will you allow your city to be burned? Will you allow your neighborhood to be terrorized? Now, in a few instances, these left-wing lunatics found neighborhoods where they could go through in the middle of the night with bullhorns and high-powered flashlights and shine lights on the windows of people's homes and wake them up and keep them awake with bullhorns demanding to be fed, to be let in, to be allowed to sleep there, right? Or else. Other towns, folks, they didn't allow them in. They had men at the end of, shall we say, communities, neighborhoods that said, you're not coming in here. You don't have any business in here. You will leave now. And folks, I believe that they had self-defense in mind. In fact, if I recall the history correctly, people were shot. It was not allowed. People obeyed the law. People stood up for themselves. And people engaged in lawful protection of themselves and others. Once again, I don't glamorize the violence. I do not recommend, encourage, persuade people to become violent. But I want people to know, hey, right, you have choices. Stand up for yourself or become a victim. Be well trained, folks. Be well versed in law and fact, in the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence, and that all enemies, foreign and domestic, folks, have to answer to somebody. And if there's no police around to protect you, who's going to protect you? Right? Are you allowed to protect yourself? Learn your local laws, understand them, and you'll come to the right conclusion about who is going to protect you when the time comes. I tell you. All right, man, I think we got one more that we can get in. One more big question. Oh, and it is our good buddy, our friend, our brother from across the pond, Vincent Boyle from Belfast, Ireland. And he says, question, will the USA invade Haiti after the midterms? Invade Haiti? I don't think so. Haiti is an incredibly, enormously corrupt, terrible, rotten place. If America invaded Haiti, we would declare victory in one day, and then we would have to pay to support and care for them and bring their infrastructure up to where it needs to be. Now that you've said it and I've responded, like it would be stupid to invade Haiti because then we'd be responsible and it would cost us money to fix things. Well, all we have gotten, Vincent, is stupid out of the Biden administration. So actually now it sounds like, yeah, we're probably going to invade Haiti because that is the absolute dumbest thing to do in terms of, well, giving this country more responsibility for caring for others. Sadly, folks, Haiti is a disaster. It's an absolute disaster. It's corrupt. It's poverty-stricken. Its leadership is so corrupt that they squander any wealth that's created. You know, I've had people describe having flown over Haiti, right? You can almost see a demarcation line between them and the Dominican Republic, right? You cross over the border and you go from, third world abject Haitian poverty to a semi-developed emerging market economy of the Dominican Republic, right? Two countries sharing one very large island, and you can see the difference between the two. And it's not that one side of the island has more resources than the other, but rather one side of the island is less corrupt than the other. All government is corrupt. All government. To some degree, whether it's 1% or 99% or somewhere in between. Right now it seems like Washington, D.C. is 100% corrupt. That is so corrupt that even the few decent representatives and bureaucrats, they can make no change because they are overwhelmingly outvoted, outnumbered, outgunned, and it's just a mess, folks. It's an absolute mess. Now, before our hour is up, I mentioned that we could have some issues in Asia that would add to our, shall we say, World War III concerns. South Korea had to scramble some jets because they detected North Korean warplanes near the border. Interesting, folks. South Korea is on a peninsula. Right? They share one border, and that's with North Korea. North Korea shares border with, I believe, Russia and China. And they have access to, shall we say, land distributions of goods and services, right? South Korea, no, not so much. South Korea has to rely on sea and air transport for importing and exporting. But North Korea, boy, they sure do want South Korea quite a bit. We could have war break out in the Koreas again. And again, it's over political ideology. One side wishes freedom and liberty. The other side wishes for socialism. In both cases, folks, it's a bad mix. Socialism, whether it's fascist socialism or whether it's communist socialism, all socialism is contrary. It's anathema. It is contradictory to the concepts, precepts, and fundamental philosophies of freedom and liberty. They don't mix. They just don't mix. And these people up there, they're pushing for conflict, right? Pushing for conflict. I do not wish for conflict, folks. I've had enough of it in my frickin' lifetime. I know that my predecessors, my ancestors have dealt with conflict, well, back through the 1900s. I know of conflict in the 1800s for my family. Of course, the 1700s, the revolution. And then the reason they left Europe, conflict, wars. Rich, elitist bastards always pushing for war. Right? How incredible would it be for there to be generation after generation after generation of peace and tranquility? Imagine the wealth that people could have if they were allowed to live free. Imagine that. Unbelievable. I tell you what, I'm going to end it on that. It is Friday. It's the Friday free for all. I want to see you guys all come back for Sunday Night Live at the Zoo, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 3 p.m. Pacific Time. Well, we'll talk about, what happened this last week, what happened during the weekend, and of course, what is coming up in the coming weeks. In the meantime, get some rest, get some relaxation, and get yourself prepared, right? Always be prepping, always be prepared, because chance favors the prepared mind. You guys be cool. I'll talk to you in just a couple days. Semper Fi. Godspeed.